Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and it's Women's History Month, and I'm here today to talk to you about Reign Season 2. So, Season 2 is probably the best season there is, even though it's entirely historically inaccurate. Things wouldn't start really getting more on the level of real life history until around season 3 and then especially season 4, even though they still take some liberties with it. But season 2 was just like good. They took everything that was good in season 1 and intensified it. There are so many twists and turns and love scandals throughout this entire season that is just jam-packed with a lot of goodness and stuff. Now, the second season does take place directly after the first, dealing with the plague. However, the plague only lasts for the first episode, and that's it. So I was really disappointed because I wanted to see more of that, even though the plague did not happen during that time period of the 1550s. It happened in France around the 1540s and the 1560s. Also, shockingly, they got rid of one character. They wrote him out, Notre Dame and everything. And I was just like really shocked and surprised. And not only that, but his appearance changed. His beard is gone now. And he just looks completely different, even though this takes place directly after the last couple of seconds of the first season. And so because of that, they changed the intro up. His voice narration is no longer there, and now it's like mostly new footage and everything. But the new intro won't really happen until like the 6th episode. And it's a really good intro and stuff, and still the same theme song by like the Lumineers called Scotland. But like the intensity, the love scandals, the like backstabbing and betrayals and everything is just hyped up by like 100. And they introduced so many new characters like Stefan Narcisse, which you don't really learn his first name until like the third season and stuff. Don't worry, this review will only cover the second season. But if I do mention anything from the next seasons, which would be a small little bit, I'll let you know. And so, like, he is played by Craig Parker, a phenomenal like actor who's actually born in Fiji, even though he's like white and like his like family moved on over there at one point. But he's mostly like a New Zealand actor, and I've seen him in a couple of stuff like Legend of the Seeker and and Charm reboot and stuff like that. And he basically takes the place of that of King Henry the second because he died in the first season. But the whole King Henry going crazy and like later dying, that just wasn't a one and done thing. Like, it takes place in this season because there's a reason why Henry went crazy. And also somebody knows that like, Francis killed his father. Also, they introduced the characters of the Bourbon brothers, the brothers of the blood from Navarre and Conde and stuff. And they play a huge role in this season, similar, but it's completely different from what the role they played in like historical times and stuff. Yes, they don't like their cousins, and yes, they probably would love to have the throne, but things play out differently here in the show. The ladies in waiting, they get more stuff to do. And it always revolves around love. Of course, you gotta have some love scandals and stuff. And, so you're gonna see like conflict between that of like Kenna and Sebastian. Lola still dealing with her affair that she had. Well, actually, it wasn't even really an affair because he was single. Even though they was married, but he was still single. But like with the whole her Francis and the baby thing, and the whole thing between Mary Sebastian and like Francis, that is completely gone. It doesn't even get brought up. In fact, Bash and like Mary only really have like one or two times they have like screen time encounters and stuff. And it's never really brought up. It's just like it's never happened. But now there's a new like love triangle between that of Mary, Francis, and Prince Conde, who is Francis' cousin. Oh, there was something else I was gonna say. Oh, now, just like in historical times, now it's the Catholics versus the Protestants. And so that whole like subplot of like the pagans from like season one, that's completely over with. It doesn't even get brought up. You won't even hear the word pagan at all. But just like in historical times, it's literally what France had to deal with the Catholics and the Protestants. And as we all know, that went on from centuries, from like the English to the Scottish to the Irish to the French people. Like it's even still felt today in modern times, like Protestants versus like Catholics and stuff, and especially in England and Ireland with like the Troubles and so that thing went on for like centuries and stuff. And so basically, the Catholics, from what I read, is that, they believe in God. He's like number one, but the Pope is like number two, like the holy person, like, to them, from at least what I read. And with the Protestants, they just don't believe that. They don't want to be ruled by the Vatican or the Pope. And at least that's my understanding from what I read and everything. And so it causes conflict. We will also hear the name Queen Elizabeth the First a lot in this season. And she has a vital role to play, even though we don't see her until the very end and everything. And it's really interesting to see Mary and Catherine get along, but it doesn't. It will last for a long time, but towards the end, it's going to deteriorate again. We also get the introduction of Princess Claude and everything. She's real from historical times. But her story plays out completely different than it does in historical times. And Rose Williams is like the most perfect princess I have ever seen on screen. And so, like, what is it? It still introduces this whole, okay, is there a supernatural realm in this show or is there not? Is it a hallucination? Like what could it be? And what they do in the third season pissed me off. And sadly, there is a real horrible thing that happens to Mary in this season. Halfway into the season. See, the weird thing is, it's like, even though the show is about Mary, Queen of Scots, this season feels a bit more about Frances than it does Mary. She's still there and she still does things, but she feels a bit like a co-star in her own show. And it's like because she's having a lot of trouble with like Francis this season and stuff, from ruling France to like this love triangle with Conde. But then there is something that is horrible that will happen to Mary. She gets assaulted by a man when a group of like assassins raid like the castle. This will literally, like the second half of the season, will deal with Mary's pain, suffering, and her trying to regain her womanhood and everything. And even though I wish this storyline was not in the show, because I hate seeing that, at least it is a teaching moment because this isn't just a one and done thing. This will literally haunt her for the rest of the season, and it will cause complications between her and Francis to where she literally doesn't want to be touched by like nobody, not even like a female. But then when she does allow herself to be touched, it's not by that of her husband, but by her husband's cousin and stuff, which will cause significant problems between her and Francis. It's so bad that literally she contemplates leaving France and going back to Scotland. Now, the assault that happens in France, I can't find no evidence of that whatsoever. But, and this is a little bit of a spoiler warning. In my season 3 and 4 review that will come out later on this month, I mentioned that there's a person in Mary's life where historians, they don't know if it was consensual between this man or if it was forced. So that's the only time I know that she's ever been like assaulted in historical times. But this entire season is just very, very, very intense. It's so intense with like twists and turns that like rewatching it for the second time, I'm just like, man, can I even remember everything that happened in this season? Because there's so much that goes on in this season. And so like, let's start with some character bios. First, I need to start with Clarissa because I need to do a little correction. See, when I rewatched this entire show, because I haven't watched it in over 10 years, I watched it on Amazon Prime and I started with season 1, but I skipped the entirety of season 2 and went on to 3 and 4 because at that time my Amazon Prime was running out and I had already ordered like season 2 on DVD, so I was just waiting for it to come. And so I'm like, okay, I'll like, save some time and I'll just skip to the next one. And so, yeah, Clarissa is technically alive. She was buried and she was just unconscious and everything. She never really died and everything. And so she dug herself out and she's been living with the family, but people think she's a witch because of the way how grotesque she looks and everything. And so when Bash is like, injured and everything, he meets this healer who supposedly can heal with just the touch of her hand. See, that's that paranormal, supernatural crap I was talking about, which, spoiler alert, that will go on to the next season where they actually do introduce magic and crap. But then the whole magic thing will end by season 4. So it was really pointless to add it. And it just took away from the show. Anyways, she healed Bash and whatever, and supposedly, oh, you have to take a life for a life and blah blah blah. And he discovers that Francis is dying and everything. Blood is pouring from his ears, and he's sick, and all this other stuff. And so, like, Notre Dame's little prediction is supposed to come to fruition now. And so the prophecy is like, Catherine's firstborn child will die and everything. But he interprets it as like, wait, hold up. Nobody knew about Carissa and she's technically the firstborn. So with the whole person who healed me and everything and life for a life and the prediction must come true and everything, the prophecy. So he's all like, I might as well just kill Clarissa because people think she's dead already. And these town people want to kill her because they think she's a witch. And so if I kill her, maybe Francis will live. So he poisons Clarissa and like Francis lives. And It's just like, what the heck was the point of this storyline? Like, they literally brought this woman in for one episode when people thought she was dead, but they brought her in for one episode only because of that cliffhanger of Olivia talking about, I heard this song sung by a woman, and it's the song that Clarissa sings and everything. So I guess they had to pay that off somehow. And so they brought her back for one episode just to have a bunch of town people about to hang her because they assume she's a witch and everything because, oh, the crops, they died as soon as she came into town. So they thought she was a witch. So Bash is just kind of like, they think you're dead in a way at court. And if you go back to court, you'll die. And these town people are about to kill you. So I might as well just kill you. And at least now you won't suffer. And it's just like, it was so tragic because she's all like, what did you do to me? As she's falling on the ground from drinking poison. And she died. And it's just like, what the world, man? Like, I feel so bad for that character. Like, that is truly one of the most tragic characters in all in entirety of this show. So the Black Plague, this was a thing that happened in the first episode and the first episode only. I really wish that they could have shown more of this because it was kind of fascinating. They left off on a big cliffhanger on the last season, and they only spent one episode on this, which really pissed me off. But basically, the whole castle is in lockdown. Nobody can come in, nobody can come out. And Francis is away looking for Lola, who's giving birth to their child. And so Notre Dame is, he said he's immune and all this other stuff. And he can help in case people be sick in the castle. And eventually people in the castle do get sick. And it's Mary and it's Catherine, and they're holding the fort down. And I really like seeing Mary and Catherine work together because, those two do not like each other. And Mary is now the main one in charge because she is the queen, where Catherine is queen mother. And Mary is really stepping up in everything. And I really like seeing that force of power, you know what I'm saying? Also, while she's having guards go out and look for that of Francis and stuff. But there is an outbreak in the castle and people are freaking out. So they quarantine people and everything like that. And so the plague, was a real thing. Like I said before, it was not man-made. It was actually some sort of, I forget, bacterial something like that. Some scientists believe it started in Asia for thousands and thousands of years ago. It lasted for a very long time. It would turn your fingers black. You would have these sores on the back of your body and stuff like that. Paleness of skin. I remember I was watching Inside Edition about 15 years ago or so. And this man was in his backyard and a cat came back there and the cat bit him on the foot. Next thing you know, the man got the Black Plague and everything. His toes turned black and had to be amputated. And he had to learn how to re-walk because you need your toes in order to balance and all this other stuff. How that cat got it, scientists believe, I think it bit or ate a rat and the rat had it and then he got it. Craziest thing is it was in North America, and I think this virus is supposed to be eradicated, but for whatever reason it lingered on and stuff, and boy, you just never know. And so there is a guy who wants Mary and Catherine to do something very nefarious and stuff. I forget his name, but his last name is Narcisse. Stephan's Narcisse is, one of his sons. And he comes with a proposition that, he wants his enemy dead because he tells them that, it's his enemy messed around with his wife or something like that. And since the virus is killing people anyway, just say the virus killed them. Of course, Mary doesn't want to do that because she's very noble and everything, and she has morals. But he tells her, hey, look, the virus is killing people, and you see those fires out in the woods, people are burning dead bodies. A famine is going to hit soon. People are going to lose like crops and everything, and you're going to need grain. And my, village can provide it. And Catherine is considering the offer because she knows they're going to need grain. But Mary ain't for this crap. So the guy decides to do it anyways. And he decides to, when that family was locked in the room, he decided to poison their water. And one of the people inside is the daughter of Castro and everything. Mary is furious about this, and she decided, you know what, you're gonna go over the queen's head. I'm gonna lock you in the dungeon with the rest of the sick people, and you can die from the virus. And that's exactly what she did. And the dude died. And so this now introduces us to his father, Stefan Narcisse. Yeah, they do mention his name twice in this show, the first name, but they normally just call him Narcisse. And so he's played by Craig Parker. And Narcisse is straight up evil. He's a genius. He's always 2 steps ahead. And the man is scandalous. He is extremely dangerous. So many people hate his character because of how evil he is. And so he wants to know, how the heck is my son like dead? And he knows better to stay in the castle. So Mary makes up an excuse. And Notre Dame is all like, I examined the bodies and he died from the plague. So he wanted to go examine the body. But then he realized something. Why is his son down in the dungeon with the rest of the criminals? And he has handcuffs on him and stuff. Well, everybody down in the dungeon is dead except for one person. Narcisse got the information out of him and realized his son was murdered. Narcisse is a powerful noble, known as Lord Narcisse. He has his own little army. He provides so much stuff for France, and the nobles respect him more than they do the royals and everything. So he demands justice. So he can't take it out on the royals, so he takes it out on Notre Dame and everything. And so Notre Dame is now imprisoned and stuff, and he's about to get sentenced to death. And the thing is, Notre Dame is, like I said before, a dude came back for clean shaving and everything. And that's because the actor was in another project. This is why he isn't in this season, and he had to shave his beard and stuff. And so Mary needs his help. Basically, Catherine's being Catherine, and they needed Catherine to be away for something, because Catherine was considering taking that dude's offer and going over to Mary's head. And so they made Catherine pretend that she had the plague by slipping her a little poison that made her just a little feverish and stuff. So she goes to Notre Dame and she's all like, I'm furious about what you did. I could have your head for that. And, I can't believe you played me like that. But you're my best friend. But I can't save you and everything. The nobles want your head. It's weird. It's like the king and queen don't mean nothing as long as the nobles are pissed. It's almost like the nobles run the country. Kind of like in America with the Senate and the president and stuff. The president can do basically whatever he wants, but the Senate can deny it if it's a bill and everything. And so Notre Dame is literally, I forget what it's called, but when they tie your limbs to horses and they start pulling to pull your limbs off, what's his name? Narcisse is kind of he's explaining, we used to tie it at the ankles and the wrist, but then the wrist or the hand and the foot would just snap off and everything. Now we do it a little bit higher up so we can pull the entire legs and arms off and everything. And the dude is getting stretched. And I mean stretched. Until Francis comes in and saves the day. Basically, It's like this. Well, after they save the day, Notre Dame is like leaves and everything, but then in the very last scene of the last episode, he comes into the shadows because apparently he's been there the whole time and he's been assisting Francis with his illness. And Francis, asks him, I'm dying, aren't I? And he's like, yes, the prophecy is coming true. Anyway, Francis and Mary, and along with Bash, had to figure out why exactly did Narcissus' son want that family to die after he lied, saying the dude messed around with his lover or something like that. And it turns out somebody had his son try to get the land of that guy. And that person was Narcisse. Only problem is Narcisse likes to cover up his tracks. And so when they found one person still alive that could confess to everything, he refuses to do it. So Mary and Francis had to act a little dirty and everything. They forged a fake letter and told Narcisse, the dude wrote this letter, and if you don't let Notre Dame go, we're gonna expose you and everything like that because you ordered the killing of that family and had them poisoned and blah blah blah. And Narcisse actually believed them, and so yeah, they tricked the crap out of him. But Narcisse isn't done. He's a vengeful man who wants nothing but revenge. And when Mary reveals, I'm the one who had your son killed, he can't punish her. But for some reason, he goes after Francis a lot. Somehow, he found out about what Francis did to his father. And like I think what it was is that one of the servants saw Francis like take off a helmet or something like that. So Narcisse literally got the original jouster and hid him and everything. And Francis and Bash had to go look for him because what Narcisse did was really interesting and made this whole plot like very interesting. So basically he had a woman who was the nanny to like Lola and Francis' son to pretend like she is the possessed spirit or body or whatever of King Henry. And when Francis is asking her so many questions, she can just tell you everything that Henry would know and everything, even like a birthmark. And so Francis literally think, oh no, the ghost has like possessed this woman and gonna expose me and blah blah blah. But then he finds out the woman is lying. And it was Narcisse because when he went to confront the woman, Francis just started confessing, and there comes Narcisse listening to everything. Basically, Narcisse is going to keep his mouth shut if Francis gives him what he wants. He's basically blackmailing him for lots of crap. One thing Narcisse wants is land that Francis gave him. No, that Castaway gave him. So now Lymph has no place to live and he has to stay like someplace else. Then when the whole Catholic and Protestant thing starts to go to war with each other, Narcisse, who's a Catholic, wants all of the Protestants prosecuted and dead. And so a bunch of crap is happening where like Catholic people are trying to find Protestants, breaking up their little service and trying to get them executed and burning down their thing, and then vice versa and everything. And so when Francis, who befriends his cousin, Conde, Louis Conde, so also Narcisse does not like him. Conde's nephew was murdered by that what was it, Catholics or something like that. And so he wants that man put to death. No, wait. His nephew was murdered by Protestants, and he wants him put to death. And so Narcisse, is getting the nobles and all this other crap. And so Francis, he kills that little that dude who killed his nephew, whatever, or cousin and stuff like that. And so this angers Narcisse and all this and crap. And Eventually, Francis does get some dirt on like Narcisse. He tries to use Lola to like put dirt on him, but like to frame him. Like he literally was gonna frame Narcisse and everything. But anyway, what Francis does, something happens and Narcisse just flees. But like Francis finds him. And he literally tells Francis, hey, look, man, if you kill me and everything, I've changed my will. So all my money and land and valuables will go to like the Protestants and they will wage war on you, even though he hates Protestants. Because he's always thinking like 2 steps ahead. So Francis keeps him alive, but he strips him of all his power and his land, and now he works for Francis. At some point in time, he starts to like Lola. Remind you, Lola should be like a teenager in this show, but they had to age her up a little bit, but she's still very young. And he's constantly pursuing her and grooming her, which is gross. He talks about how he wants her to like take a bath and he wants to watch her. And this all started because Kenna walked in on 2 girls doing it, and they was hot and bothered because of this journal they read. And so they tried to find the guy who wrote it, and it turns out to be Narcisse. So he has a huge interest in Lola, but Lola wants nothing to do with him. But then at times, it's like she refuses to frame him because he tells her, Francis is keeping a secret from you and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And so when she confronts Francis, she's all like, Narcisse was truthful to me, but you lied and blah. And it's like, dude, what are you doing, Lola? This is why she's one of the most hated ladies in waiting. And, and she's trying to figure out Narcisse and everything because she's not interested in him. But then she starts to get a little worried because when they met Narcisse, he had a woman in a cage. This woman helped give birth to that of like Lola's baby, and they were staying with her family. And later on, he marries this woman, and the woman looks pissed scared. And she tells Lola she's heard stories of Narcisse killing his ex-wives. He's been married at least twice or something like that. And so Lola asks like Mary for help, but Mary at first wouldn't like help her. But then she decides to, and they get the woman out. But then when the lady gets caught, she jumps over a cliff and kills herself. Narcisse is all like upset and everything and talks to Lola and tells her the rumors are true about his ex-wives, but he didn't mean to kill him. He was like young and impulsive and all this other crap, and women bled as he was like doing them and all kind of stuff just to get kind of sympathy, and it kind of works on her. She is starting to be groomed and everything to where she doesn't always think he's like a bad person, and it's weird. It's like she should know better. The dude has threatened like Frances, Mary, Catherine, and her baby and stuff, but she just won't always believe it. And so to make matters worse, Claude tries to get with him, the princess and everything, but he doesn't want her, but he kisses her. But who does he want? He wants that of Catherine. One reason why he wants Lola is for her dowry and everything, because he needs money, especially now being stripped of everything. And Catherine has money, and Catherine's interested because Catherine sees like a kindred spirit in him. And so they start like doing things, and he helps her when she starts to go crazy in the head, and he finds out how. But she can't take no for an answer, especially when she finds out that he's been trying to mess with Lola and everything. She even has him make fun of Lola in front of all the nobles and everything else. And it's just like a really weird relationship. But then Catherine's all like, nobody's going to have you but me and blah, 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 because we're too similar and stuff like that. And he is literally scared of her to where he asks Frances and Mary for help. But the worst part of it is he kills Mary's uncle, the Duke of Guise and everything, because what's his name, Louis and like Antoine, they really want to stick it to Bash because Bash killed their brother, and they can't kill him So they try to hurt him, but it's like they need somebody to frame this on because too many clues is going to them. So Antoine literally bribes Narcisse with tons of money to frame that of the Duke of Guise and everything and have him killed. The man is legit evil and everything. And he's just dastardly and stuff. But he is a perfect, like, alternate to that of Henry, because once they lost Henry, they needed an antagonist on the show. Lord Castroy. So he still loves Greer, and he gave Lymph that of land. Castroy's daughter is in town, and Liv had no idea. She has like red hair and stuff like that. And so, like, Greer assumes that Lymph is only dating his daughter because he's trying to get back at her because of that threat he made last season of, one day he's going to be a man of power and he's going to be rich. And when he does, he's not going to want her no more. So this pisses Castroy off and everything. But the problem is this character doesn't even last long. They really could have got a lot of mileage out of this huge, like, love, like, family thing of like the daughter, the father, Greer, and Lymph and everything. But they killed her off during the plague in the first episode. He's pissed, he's blaming Lymph and all this other stuff. And so he fears that Greer might still want Lymph and everything. But she tells him straight up, no, like, I love you and blah, 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 and stuff like that. And he's just so pissed that he kind of just doesn't want her. But then they eventually do get married. But then they start to have problems because it turned out that he is secretly Protestant and everything. And when he was at service, the Catholics came in, they burnt down the farmhouse thing, and he fled with somebody else. And Lymph, being a soldier, is somebody who found him, but Lymph, like, covered for him and told Greer. But the problem now is that Castroy decided to give money to an organization because they said they was going to build schools. They lied. It turns out they're Protestants looking to assassinate the crown and everything. Because that dude that Francis had killed, that killed Conde's nephew, turned out to be this one guy's son. So they stormed the castle looking to kill Francis and Mary, but Francis was gone. Doing something with trying to find Narcisse and everything, and Mary ended up getting assaulted. When they found out that Castroy funded this without his knowledge and everything, they throw him in jail in the dungeon and they throw Greer in like the tower. Because of this, Greer is now stripped of like her title and everything, all her money. No, she's stripped of her title, but she can't get her money because her money is tied now to her husband and she can't get it. So she is literally on the street and Castroy is now in jail. Poor Greer, man. Like, I always liked her. And it sucks that she got wrapped in this all because she was married to the dude. And she was going to be beheaded, but because of Mary and everything, who talked to Francis, he was able to spare her. But, she had to leave the castle. She is now banished. And she's living on the street and she goes to a tavern and she doesn't have no money for food. So all she can drink is like water and stuff. And so while she's there, Kenna and Lola sneak and like go meet her, but they can't be caught because they will look like traitors and they will be beheaded and stuff because this would be treason. So they give her some money here and there, and when she goes next door to talk to a prostitute, she gives her some pointers on how like to dress and this and that. Because she thought the prostitute was like banging a dude, but she was just banging a wall because she hid her money there. And so, next thing you know, she tells this prostitute lady that, I know some guys and I know this party that's gonna happen. I can dress you up and you can be more high class instead of like a tavern girl and stuff. Well, actually, not really a tavern girl. A tavern girl is like a waitress. So you won't have to be like, a streetwalker or what do you call it. And so the woman made so much money, she gave Greer some. Next thing you know, she's all like, I got some more girls that you can probably help us out and everything. Greer becomes a madam, a lady pimp. And she has a group of prostitutes. I did not see this coming. However, this storyline caused Greer to take initiative on her own. She can't get none of her money out of the bank because now it's tied to her husband because of what he did. The bank went and took it. Because she's a woman, she has no rights and everything. She's banished from the castle, and she show that she can be bad on her own. She taught these like, street walking prostitutes how to be more high class, how to fix yourself more up, how to like, talk to people and stuff. And they only went to like high profile clients because lots of soldiers and nobles and lords and everything like that goes to these women. And with enough money she was able to make, she bought herself a little home and everything to put the prostitutes there and stuff. And she made a business for herself and stood on her own 2 feet. And a lot of fans respected her for that. And so eventually her and Lymph started their relationship again. This made me so happy because I just like seeing those two together. I always wanted those two to be the end game. But the problem is she is still married. So Lymph decides, you know what? I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get you annulled and everything. So he goes to like what them people call not a cleric, cardinal or something like that. And the cardinal has him shake down people for tax money. So Lymph does it and to pay for the annulment. But the dude's greetings are like, I'm gonna need more money and everything. So he tells Lymph to go and steal a brooch that's in the castle. Not a brooch, but a scabbard. For like a dagger and stuff like that. Little dagger case. So he steals the dagger in the scabbard only until Princess Claude catches him and everything. And so he can't do that, and she makes him go here and there because he has to babysit her. But then when she has like a nervous breakdown because nobody will love her and everything, and she basically gives him like jewelry so he can pawn and everything. He has enough money now for like the annulment so Greer can have it. But Greer tells him she she doesn't know she wants that anymore because it's kind of like he tells her, if we get married, you don't have to have this lifestyle no more. I can take care of you and this and that. And she's just kind of like, I don't want nobody to take care of me. I want to take care of myself. I want to be independent. I'll marry you, but I'm not giving up my job. And he's all like, but I'll get like a higher like promotion. And she's all like, what if that never happens? I mean, like, you had your land taken from you. I had my title taken from me. I got banished from the castle. You never know what's going to happen because the royals will screw you over and stuff. And she tells him, you know what? For the first time, she feels proud and she's doing things on her own. So sadly, they are not going to get together. And I'm like, no, I want them to get together. So she's gonna give him the money back, but he says he doesn't want it because that was the only thing he needed it for, and those two aren't gonna be together. So they give each other like a good hug goodbye, and that is it and everything between these two. Like, they're just not together, and I'm just like, man. And then I was hoping next season they will get together and stuff. But like, I've already explained that in my fourth season review. So Lymph, man, like, I feel bad for this man. Like, he was a kitchen boy. He fell in love with a woman he had no business falling in love with because she is privileged and he's just a commoner. And when they got caught and all this other stuff, he became a soldier fighting in a war. He befriended a prince who later became king. He has his own land, but he can't have the woman he wants. And that's really hurtful, you know what I'm saying? And on top of all that, now he has to play babysitter to that of Claude because Catherine wants Claude out of this and out of that, so he has to like take her places and keep her occupied. But Claude is a wild child and everything. And he even protects her when the castle is under siege towards the end of like the series and stuff. Instead of him fighting the bad guys off, he's too busy protecting her and talking to her and keeping her like comfortable and stuff. Princess Claude. Boy, I swear to God, I'm so glad they introduced this character in season 2. Rose Williams was made to play a prissy little princess and everything. She is so like dainty and boppy and wears pink dresses and she whines a lot and she wants this and she wants that. But the girl is also a wild child free spirit. She loves to get drunk. She loves to bang like men and everything. And she hates her mother to death because her mother does not like her and stuff. And there's a gross, nasty storyline that happens. See, when she comes back to court, she does not like Kenna because Kenna is married to Bash. And so we just assume she just doesn't like nobody dating her brother. So you assume, okay, she doesn't like Mary either, right? And so, like, we don't know why she doesn't like Kenna. But then it's revealed when she's talking to Bash that like remember when we used to spend the night together and get it busy and everything. And he's all like, yeah, when you got me drunk and tricked me in believing that Henry wasn't really my father. It's like, ugh, they had an incestual relationship one time. It's disgusting. And she did it because she just wanted to do him and everything. What the world? Technically, yes, some of these royals, they do marry and have kids with their cousins because they want their land and or they need somebody to help them protect their land. And it's just like, ugh. Because you'll find out a little bit more about that when I go to my season 3 and 4 review, because I was very shocked. Somebody married her cousin and had a baby by him. In real life, too. So she tells Kenna this. And Kenna is just like shocked. And so Bash has to like explain, I was drunk and she tricked me and all this and that. So thankfully, they have no more interactions with each other. But she has plenty of interaction with that of Catherine. Catherine does not like her. And the storyline they give them is very, very fascinating. So, like, there's a storyline where Catherine starts to go crazy in the head and starts seeing these two little ghost girls. The two ghost girls are revealed to be Catherine and Henry's twin daughters. Now, these twin daughters did technically exist in real life. And yes, they did die. One died in utero, and the other one died 7 weeks after being born. But in the show, they have them haunting that of like Catherine and stuff. And so they start like, giving Catherine hints and clues and all this other stuff with flowers and stuff. And it's revealed that Claude stuffed flowers down their throats when Claude was just 5 years old and they was a baby. Or so that is what we are led to believe. Claude says she has no recollection of this, but Catherine's all like, it's true and I had to cover up for you. And after you did that, I was so appalled that I sent you away and everything. But the thing is, Claude literally did not do it. Somebody else did, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So when the truth is revealed, that person's like in prison and all this other stuff, and somebody dies. Because Catherine strangled the crap out of them with a necklace and stuff. So this is their rocky relationship they have in the show. But in real life, Claude and Catherine actually got along very well. And so Claude likes this one guy, and she's all like, I'm gonna introduce you to my family, and you're gonna live in the castle, and blah blah blah, who she's banging. He's all like, I don't want that. Like, I think him and his friends are going out of town or something like that. So she's heartbroken. She's the princess who's never gonna be queen. She's the princess who can't get no guy that she likes to like her back. This is now the third guy who has turned her down. Plus this other guy who's like this religious figure that Catherine made go away. So like I said before, she gives Lymph that jewelry and all this and that. And when Catherine becomes like delusional and sick and they think Catherine has an STD, Claude is like thrilled and, and everything because Catherine has to take treatment and the treatment is very torturous. Delphine was a nun who is also a healer and a witch, a pagan one. And so Bash meets up with her and she tells him how she has the power to heal and she has the power of sight and this and that. He fancies her, and when things with him and Kenna start to get rocky, they pursue a relationship. When Bash is stabbed, like, she heals him and this and that. And of course, I already told you the whole thing with like Clarissa. But it turns out, I'm like, is she really a witch, or there's just more of this pretend like Henry's inside the body of a woman and ghost children and stuff like that. Like, what's really going on? Well, they went there, man. Turns out she's really a witch. Ugh. And she has the power of sight. So, like, she messes things up further with that of Kenna and Bash, but things are already messed up because of what Kenna did and stuff. And so her and Bash have a relationship. But she decides she's gonna bond those two together. So when she feels pain, he'll feel it too. If she lives, he'll live and everything. Because there are people who assume that she's like in league with the devil and this and that, and because she was seen hovering over a body, pressing down on his chest and howling and everything. And so next thing you know, there's like a pentagram and this and that. So they burn her. And as her body's being burnt, and Bash is feeling the pain, and with his strength, she's able to break free and run off. Stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And I can't believe they went there. And it really goes there in season 3. And it's just a very odd storyline from a character that they really didn't even have that much in season 3. King Anton Bourbon. He's your typical scummy king. He cheats on his pregnant wife. He's all about vengeance. And like, he really messes things up with Bash and Kenna. He is Louis's brother and everything, and he had Louis try to suck up to the royals and everything because they want to take the crown. They want to find any kind of weakness they can. And so when he sees Bash for the first time, well, second time actually, he knows that Bash is the guy who killed his brother, stabbed him with like a dagger and stuff when they fought at some battle or something like that, some war. And so when he tells Louis that, he wants revenge, but Louis tells him straight up, you can't kill the king's brother. So what he does and stuff is like, he tries to get with Kenna. Now, it is later revealed that he is the one, him and Louis are the one who poisoned Henry in season 1 that caused him to go crazy. And so they planted, or they framed like, well, actually Anton is the one who framed like the Duke of Guise and stuff, and had Narcisse like frame him. But when it comes to Kenna, he realizes, hey, there's more than one way to hurt somebody. So he starts to fancy her and everything. starts to like invite her more places, like, give her jewelry and a dress, and and talks about how, like, since you're not happy in your marriage and my wife is dying, but she's not really dying because I don't think she is, she's just pregnant. And like, I'll like, when my wife dies, you can get annulled and we can get married and you can be a queen and blah blah blah, and kissing her and stuff like that. She keeps rejecting him, talking about, I'm married. But after a while, she starts to contemplate what he's offering and stuff. Bash is getting extremely jealous, constantly seeing those two hang around and all this other stuff. And eventually, it causes those two to break up. He's really conniving and scheming, and in actuality, in real life, yes, he is related to the Vaurois and stuff. And also, he literally tried to take the crown and everything from France. Like, him and Louis were part of, like, I think 3 civil wars in France and stuff, trying to take the crown. And in actuality, what they don't show on the show is that he hates Catherine Medici to death. If you watch The Serpent Queen, you'll see that. Bash. The whole thing between him, Mary, and Francis, that is completely gone. It doesn't even really get brought up. He has moved on, and he has moved on to Kenna, and he's gonna try to make this marriage work, which is the strangest pairing I've ever seen because she used to sleep with his father. But his father was the king and all that other stuff. And so him and Mary don't even really have that much screen time, but he's basically Francis's right hand man. He will do anything for Francis, and he's sometimes here and there is paired with Louis Conde because they go out and they try to like find stuff, things like that. He is the king's deputy, a way better title than what he had before. But it still doesn't make Kenna all that happy because she wants a bigger, like, um, title in a bigger house. He is constantly away doing Francis's dirty work, or just trying to like, find this culprit or trying to like, blackmail this person because there's an evil force, always trying to mess with like Francis. So he has like Bash do his dirty work, like try to frame like Narcisse or trying to find information on Narcisse. Um, there are these three dark writers, and they basically brand people with like the Protestant like symbol. And because of that, it's meant to instill fear and ostracize them and like, cast them out of like France or have them like beheaded or something or hung. And so, no way, beheading is more for royals and everything, and like, but like hanging is for everybody else. And so, this one cardinal type dude, he is literally having people branded, and he like, well, he's not really having people branded. Um, what is it? What is it? What is it? He basically wants people hung who are branded and stuff, and anybody who's Protestant. So when Francis knows this is wrong because Louis is Protestant and Louis is branded, he basically has Bash like, find the cardinal dude's like lover, male lover, and brand him. So then they all like, oh, well, this guy is branded, so we're gonna have to hang him and everything. And so, the cardinal's trying to do everything he can, but there's nothing he can do until, like, he discovers what bashing them did. And so because of that, and he knows like if he goes through with this, he will have to out himself as being gay. And so he just realizes, what, let me just stop like killing Protestants and stuff like that. This is causing Kenna to be very frustrated and very irritated because like she doesn't like the idea that Bash has to do like Francis' dirty work. And she doesn't like the idea that it takes up all of like Sebastian's time because he spends no time with her. And she literally says that, she's tired of like just staying in her room doing absolutely nothing and waiting for her husband to come back and stuff like that. Also, when she asks him what does he do, he lies and everything. And so it's really taking a toll on their marriage to where she starts to have wandering eyes. And when she starts to have wandering eyes, he gets frustrated and realizes, you know what, since you contemplated Antoine's like proposal and everything, I'm done with you. And he basically leaves her for Delphine and everything. And I already told you about the whole Delphine, the witch thing, them sharing the same like bond or whatever, and stuff like that. Because when she was starting to get burnt and everything at the stake, he was feeling her pain, like he was like heating up and everything. But he did used to love Kenna so much that he would risk getting infected just to kind of like save her and stuff. When the plague was going on, that little boy they rescued in season 1, he was infected. Kenna was locked in the room with him, quarantine, and here he is just busting through doors trying to find her. But then he started to get sick and like pass out and stuff. Now he technically did see the ghost children of Catherine, but it's never explained why he was able really to see them afterwards and stuff. Maybe it's his pagan roots, who knows? And that's what made me kind of start to think, is there really a supernatural in this show or is it not? Which of course it was revealed towards the end that there is. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about Bash and Kenna is that he found out that he knew that like, his mother was gonna try to have like, him legitimized and stuff like that because Catherine, she told Catherine and everything, and Catherine went and tried to stop it. And Dash was pissed because he's all like, you could have had me beheaded and everything and stuff like that because that's treason and stuff like that because he's illegitimate. And that would have been a sign that he's trying to take the crown and stuff like that. And it's the fact that Kenna went and ratted them out because like she saw it as like, Diane trying to like take Henry away from her and stuff like that. And so it caused more rift between like their marriage and stuff because while she is a nice person, she still has those vixen like qualities and stuff. Lady Kenna, I felt bad for Kenna this season because it's like, in the first season, they make her kind of seem like a vixen and everything, but she's actually a really nice person. It's just she will sleep around for power and everything. Like when, King Henry like wanted her and stuff, and then she became whiny. I want this, I want that. And that's how she is. She always wants stuff. She is happy being married to Bash, surprisingly, and everything. But the thing is, she always wants more. Their little villa that they had, it got burnt down during the plague and everything. Now, in the beginning, like I said before, she took care of that boy who was infected. In last season, it was revealed that Bash killed his father. I thought there was going to be more to that, but they decided just to screw that storyline and kill the boy off very fast with that of the plague. But Kenna was willing to take care of that boy like he was her own. And that's really like sweet and everything, because I wasn't expecting her character of all people to do something like that. But like I said before, it does cause her to be trapped in the room with him, quarantined and stuff, until Bash saved her. And the whole her and Bash thing, that's a relationship that should not have worked, but it kinda did. Especially seeing how he was in love with Mary last season, and every time he saw Mary and Francis together, it made him jealous and went to Kenna more. But like I said before, the whole Bash and Mary thing is completely over. But like I said before, she is still whining. She always wants this and she wants that. And like, she wants him to have like a higher position of power and she wants all the like fancy stuff. But he's a more down to earth kind of person. But she's willing to wait for her husband. But the thing is, he's always away. And like I said before, she is constantly bored walking around, staying in her room, or mostly just hanging out with the other ladies in waiting. She mostly hangs out with that of Lola, especially when, like, Greer gets banished. And she's even willing to sneak out and like hang out with Greer, give Greer money and give her like, clothes and like fabric for like curtains and stuff. She's a very genuine, like sweet and kind-hearted person. And I love how they show that to contradict her Vixen side. She can always tell when there's a love scandal going on between Louis and like Mary, or that there's problems with Mary and Francis and stuff. She has that keen eye for that. But like I said before, when Bash is away, she is so lonely that Antoine starts to like fancy her, but she constantly is having to push him away and telling him that, she's married and she loves her husband. But he gets into her mind that he's not here and I am, and I'm a king, and he's just an illegitimate like son of the royals and stuff. And so with him always telling her, oh, my wife is dying and I need a new wife. And so she literally invites his wife to see if she's dying or not. And if she was dying, she was going to leave Bash for Antoine. But then she just sees that the girl is pregnant. When Antoine doesn't like this, he causes more problems between that of Bash and Kenna. When Kenna's at like a party in Navarre, the kingdom which Antoine rules and stuff, that borders that of France, he sends a letter to Sebastian saying Kenna is going to be coming soon, but Kenna doesn't. She's still there partying. So this causes a huge fight, with like Bash and Kenna and stuff like that. And it's to the point where what's his name just straight up leaves her. But they're not like divorced yet. And so Kenna then starts to like fall for this general that belongs to that of Antoine and Louis. Bash hasn't even completely left her yet, and already she's starting to have eyes for another man. I was so pissed when they wrote that for her, because they always have to have a love triangle in this show, but they really did show that Kenna's not that vixenous and not that bad, but now they showing that she is. And so she's sleeping around with him and this and that. But when the general gets blackmailed to join Louis and stuff, he starts to give information to Kenna that helps out in this battle that's about to happen towards the end of the season. And so at one point, when Kenna starts to find out about Bash and like Delphine, she starts to get jealous because that's her husband and stuff. But then she sleeps with Bash and Bash is going to take her back. Until Delphine, being a seer and magical and a witch and all this other stuff, when she shook the hand of Kenna, she could tell that Kenna was pregnant for many weeks. This causes Bash to like confront Kenna about it and be all like, is it true you're pregnant? And she's all like, yeah, I think for a couple of days probably. But then he makes her confess more and she reveals it's for a couple of weeks. And of course, her and Bash haven't slept with each other in many weeks. It was just her and that general. And so he realized that she used him to plant a baby on him and stuff. And now he's really done with her. So, in a really shocking turn, Mary helps get Kenna away from court to be with this family so she can give birth in private so it won't ruin her reputation of being a lady, because it'll be hard for her to get married. Similar to what happened to Lola and stuff. And so, next thing you know, Kenna starts talking to this teenage boy. But this teenage boy happens to be a king. Kenna starts brainstorming and she can tell that he likes her. She's all like, well, when you become a man and I come and visit you, say in about 9 months, Do you mind if I bring my sister's baby with me? And he's like, sure, whatever. Now, I assume, now here's a spoiler alert for season three. I assume that once the baby is born, at some point in time, Kenna will come back to French court because, Lola did and everything, and Greer came back and all this other stuff. So I assume, at some point we'll be seeing Kenna again. No, this is Kenna's last season. Caitlyn left, and I believe she went to go do a show for Fox. And she never came back. And Kenna is literally never mentioned again until in very briefly by Mary towards the end of season four, when she talks about all her ladies in waiting and she just mentions Kenna's name, but that's literally it. She doesn't say anything about Kenna. We don't know what happens to Kenna afterwards. Did she have the baby? Did she miscarry? Did she marry that teenage king boy and everything? Like, what happened to her? We will never know. And it makes me wonder, was the actress just unhappy? Or was it just she went on to another show and the CW just said see ya and everything? Lady Lola. I have a lot of mixed feelings about Lola, not just in this season, but especially in season three. But in season two, like, she's still having to deal with the aftermath of what her and Francis did. And of course, like I said before, she gives birth to their child. I think his name is John. At first, she was just gonna raise him alone and not have him have a title and this and that. But Mary convinces her, along with Catherine, that the boy needs to have a title just in case something were to ever happen down the line of succession and the boy might have to become legitimized or something like that. And so the whole thing between her, Francis, and Mary and the baby really takes a toll this season. Even though her and Mary reconciled at the end of season one, Mary is still harboring some strong feelings towards Lola, to the point where they have a couple of arguments down the line of this season and stuff, and very early on in this season. I think Mary even slaps Lola, I think. I can't remember. But the whole idea that one of her best friends would sleep with her husband and everything and make a baby by him, it really still stings towards Mary. And Lola is just her head held high, and she feels like even though she made a mistake, she really didn't do nothing wrong and everything. And she's not going to feel shame by this for the rest of her life because this is something her son is going to have to bear, and stuff like that. And it's even to the point where Lola wants to leave court so she won't have to deal with all this no more. But eventually she does stay in court. She's mostly hanging around Kenna this season, but she also hangs around Narcisse. Narcisse likes what he sees, and he also wants her money. And the thing is, you gotta remember, Narcisse is a grown 40-something-year-old man, and she is supposed to be depicted as at least an older teenager and stuff. And he's constantly pursuing her, a lot. There's one time where he was teaching her how to use a bow and arrow. This is a nod to her being in the Chronicles of Narnia movies, mainly the first two, and cameo in the third. I miss those movies so much. I wish they would have continued them. I don't know what the heck Netflix is gonna do. But anyway. But he is constantly hitting on her and this and that, and she does not want him. She's constantly pushing his advances away and everything. But she does tempt them and kind of give in to them to the point where even though she sees and hears all this bad stuff he's doing, he's able to use his swagger and everything to make her seem like, hey, I'm not that bad of a guy. It's just a misunderstanding and everything. I hate when bad guys do that. And simple-minded women always fall for it. And she is one of those simple-minded people who kind of falls for it and stuff. And it's really disgusting when you think about the age gap because she's a minor and like he wants to see her naked and take a bath and all this other stuff, but she outsmarts him at first and has just some like kitchen girl get like naked in the tub and start taking a bath. And she even paid the girl off. She's all like, "Hey, you want to take a bath in my tub?" And just to let you know, somebody might be spying on you from across like the window and stuff. The girl, the kitchen girl, does it, and she goes to Narcisse's room. They're like, "Yeah, I paid like a kitchen girl to do it," but then she later on gives in and actually takes a bath for him. And I'm just kind of like, what the heck, girl? What the world are you doing? And so, like, like Narcisse is Francis's mortal enemy in this season. And when Francis needs to blackmail Narcisse in order to get Narcisse to leave him alone and get rid of this dude, she doesn't want to do it because she thinks Narcisse isn't a bad person because he told her the truth and Francis, her baby daddy, lied to her and stuff. It's like the things they make her do, it's like no wonder she's the most hated out of all the ladies in waiting. The audience just don't like her and stuff. They like Kenna over her, and Kenna literally slept with like the king, and she contemplated cheating on Bash, and she did cheat on Bash and stuff. But they still like her a heck of a lot more than they like Lola, because Lola doesn't have that many good qualities that make you want to that makes her redeemable and everything. Yeah, she did try to save Narcisse's wife, the one that was in the cage, but the woman still jumped off a cliff and everything and killed herself. And other than that, like the only good quality she has is her protecting her son. Like she loves her son to death. And when she sees, like even like Catherine's all like, Mary and Francis aren't really getting along, and y'all do have a baby and everything. Even Catherine's starting to come around and trying to get her to go to Francis and stuff. But it's just like that's basically all she does this season. It's either her and Mary, her and Francis, or her and Narcisse. And so she really doesn't have a storyline of her own because she's always put in the mix of like all these other people. Queen Mother Catherine Medici, played by Megan, follows and stuff. Now, I've said this before. She's one of the best things in this show. She's like the show stealer and everything. This season, however, she takes a little bit of a back seat because it's Mary's time to be queen and everything. But they still find interesting storylines to put her in. Yet she's not as captivating as she is in all the other 3 seasons and stuff, except for this one thing she does to Narcisse that involves a horse. No, get your mind out the gutter, not like that. But she basically had an Eric Cartman type thing going on. So anyway, surprisingly, her and Mary gets along this entire season. They have a couple of hiccups here and there, but for the most part, they are getting along. Especially in the beginning when they have to rule together and everything. But Catherine knows her place and she lets Mary and Francis rule. But whenever Francis is away and Mary tries to rule by herself, and that's something Catherine doesn't want to happen, she will literally put a stop to it. And so, like, she is the one who actually helps Mary through her assault storyline and everything. She tells Mary, like, you have to put on, like, this is the part I hate, telling Mary, you have to put on a front to, like, trick the people to make sure you was like untouched and everything. A typical old school older woman view of when a younger person gets assaulted. I hate that. It's kind of the whole, like, she tells her, I went through the same thing and you have to still present yourself and stuff like that. Now, it causes Mary to lie to the people, but she tells Francis and stuff the truth. But like she does help Mary through all this, like holding her like well she can't hold her hand because Mary won't let nobody touch her. But she will literally sit by Mary and talk to her and she literally gets Francis and tells him, hey look man, this is Mary's decision. You gotta wait until she allows you to touch her. Like you can't force yourself to like touch your wife and everything. If she doesn't want you to hold her hand, you don't hold her hand and you give her much time as she needs and everything. And I was really shocked and surprised she came to be very caring towards that of Mary and everything. Because in the show, and especially in real life, she hates Mary to death. But when Mary and Francis start to share different bedrooms, she does take an opportunity to try to persuade Lola to, like, be with Francis. She ain't gonna wait for long because the thing is, Catherine loves power. And as much as she would love for her kids to rule, she knows the line of succession. There has to be an heir with the new king and everything. And he already has a kid by her. And with him and Mary on the rocks, eventually they'll get annulled and everything, hoping he will marry Lola and stuff. And but the thing is, she doesn't like Lola this season because Lola is, in the eyes of Narcisse. And so, like, towards the third part of this season, she starts to have Narcisse kind of like, telling him, stay away from Lola. Me and you should be together. Because at one point, Catherine was gonna like try to get with Mary's uncle and try to have some power that way. And to get in favor with like Mary's side of the family and stuff. But Narcisse comes in the way and and all this other stuff, and then him and like Catherine start to have like a bond. It's to the point where they start messing around and she tells him, stay away from Lola and all this other stuff. And I need you to embarrass Lola by drawing a picture of her naked in a tub and sending it all around court so all the nobles can see and make fun of her, which he does. And it pisses Lola off and everything. Because remember, Lola's the only lady in waiting that would stand up to that of Catherine and stuff from that of the first season. But, when Narcisse still tries to pursue Lola and all of Catherine's spies are like seeing this, I can't believe she went Eric Cartman on him. So when Narcisse had everything taken from him by Francis, Catherine was able to get his prized possession, his horse. He loves his horse. But when the castle is about to be raided and there's about to be a war, she decides she's going to have dinner with Narcisse. And she fixed him a steak that she cooked herself. And while they're eating, they're like arguing and debating and this and that. And she literally tells him, you are mine and nobody else's. And that steak you have is not that of a cow and everything. It's his horse. And tells him, nobody scorns me and everything. You are mine and mine only because we are so much alike. Even though he has framed Francis, even though he has threatened to kill or have Catherine killed because of the whole thing that happened with Henry and stuff, she still wants this dude. But like her best storyline this season is actually that of her ghost family. So like I said before, she starts to see these little ghost girls around. Those are her twins and everything. She has no idea who they are because now they have aged up. They died when they was just babies. Now I said this before, one ghost child died inside Catherine's body and the other one died 7 weeks later. Because remember, it took her 10 years just to make a baby when she was married to Henry, and she had about 10 children and stuff. And so, like, these ghost children are haunting the crap out of her because they want to hurt Claude. But then all of a sudden, she starts to see that of the ghost of Henry. And her and Henry, Ghost Henry, are like sleeping together and this and that. And she's actually having the time of her life with this ghost family. She's the happiest she's ever been because, her and her kids don't get along. Frances is really the only child she ever truly loves. The other ones she just used for political power, and she's really mean and rude to them. Charles she kind of likes too, and yeah, she likes Charles because he becomes king and everything when Francis is supposed to die. So like this ghost family is just making her smile like never before. But when she starts to have these bumps show up around her mouth and her fingers and stuff, they assume it's syphilis. So they put her in this little chamber pot thing, and Claude is just having the best time of her life seeing her mom in agony and pain. But Narcissus decided he's going to take care of Catherine and realizes, this might not be syphilis and everything. You might be poisoned. So then they try to figure out where the poison can come from. And they realize it's Henry's Bible, because she's been kissing it and holding it and everything for comfort. And so, like, hold up. So if the Bible made her go crazy and see dead people, and the Bible made Henry go crazy and make him see his dead brother, somebody must have poisoned it. So, like I said before, it was the bourbons and everything, which Narcisse literally frames what's his face for it. The Duke of Guise. But what about the whole dead, like, twins and, like, the flowers shoved in the mouth by Claude and why she treats Claude the way she does? Well, so after she blamed, like, Claude and confronted Claude about it, and Claude's all like, I never did that and I don't remember doing that. Catherine starts to have Bash start to investigate, and they realize something. So they have to ask like the nannies and stuff of like the baby twins and stuff. Well, most of them are dead, but one of them is still alive, who no longer works there and living a very rich like lifestyle. Basically, Bash realized that like Catherine and Henry paid the nanny off because of what happened. Catherine, when she saw the flowers down the baby's throats, she assumed Claude did it and paid off the nanny, but then she didn't know Henry paid the nanny off. It turns out that the nanny was banging Henry because Henry just wanted her and stuff. So she had to do it no matter what. And so like the nanny left the window open and the babies froze to death. And so because of that, she saw the flowers on Claude's like dress and decided to stuff them down the baby's throat, but framing it on that of like Claude. And so like because of this, the nanny is arrested and this and that, right? And here's the thing, there's like another part of this story and everything. It wasn't really the nanny that left the window open. She did stuff the flowers down the throat and everything, but the babies died by the hands of another. Diane Portier, that of Sebastian's mother, and cousin to that of Catherine. So basically, when Diane found out that Henry took another mistress in the form of the nanny, she got jealous and stuff. And when Henry had twins by that of like Catherine, she was even more jealous. And she wanted like, to punish all of them and stuff. So she is the one who, when she found out, Henry was banging the nanny, she made the nanny like leave the room and everything. Then she went and opened the window, leaving it open for the newborns to like freeze to death. And once all this was found out, because Catherine put the pieces together and everything, She legit kills that of Diane. She strangles her to death with her own necklace and stuff and hits her over the head with a blunt instrument. And so Sebastian just assumed his mom just like left court and everything, right? And stuff like that. But no, Catherine straight up murdered that woman and stuff. And of course, this never happened in real life. Diane Portier went on to live a long life in luxury and stuff like that after Henry died. And to get a better example of Diane Portier, just watch The Serpent Queen because this version is completely different from like what history has and stuff, especially that of her religion, because she's pagan in the show, but she's actually a Catholic. She also used to drink gold, making her think it'll make her younger and stuff, but it doesn't. It just makes you sick. So Catherine was really like a force to reckon with this season, even though like, she didn't really do a lot of the stuff that she would do in other seasons. Now, the whole thing with her and Mary, she doesn't like the whole thing of Louis and Mary together and swore to get vengeance on her. But when Mary saves the day and everything, there is a bit of a problem. See, like I said before, Catherine is vengeful. And she had Lola and Lola's baby kidnapped and had a lie saying that they died in the battle and stuff. This made Francis heartbroken to the point where he's just been praying at the Abbey for like many hours and stuff. Narcisse is the one who found Lola and found the baby and told Mary because now Narcisse is sick and tired of Catherine because now he fears her because of the whole horse thing. And he said the worst thing is to be hated by Catherine, but the even more worst thing than that is to be loved by her. And so, like, Catherine did this for pretty much two different reasons. One, she no longer likes Lady Lola, and also she wants Francis to kill that of Louis because of his treason, but he decided to let him go. When everybody finds out, Francis is pissed and he banishes his mother from court. He tells her, I don't care where you go. Go back to Italy with the other Medicis. Like he literally just doesn't care where like she goes as long as she's not like at court and everything. But Catherine decides to go someplace else, very unpredicted, and it does not happen in real life. She goes to England and she goes and befriends that of Queen Elizabeth I, Queen Elizabeth Tudor. This never happened in real life and those two never met. Even though Elizabeth was responsible for the uprising of Protestants versus the Catholics over in like, England in the show and stuff. And she is also responsible for the whole like Louis trying to take over the castle and stuff. But Catherine still befriends her and everything. And Elizabeth is played by Rachel Scatton. She is best known for being in the CW's Batwoman and the DC show Birds of Prey, not the movie, but the show. And so, like, she does a phenomenal job, especially when you see her in season 3 and season 4. She is fierce, she is stern. And I've already written to full detail about like that in season 3, and as well as the real Elizabeth I. But one thing I didn't mention, I forgot to mention, that spoiler alert, in real life, Queen Elizabeth I would smack her servants around. She would pinch them, she would poke them, she would smack them. She would have temper tantrums and just like, abuse them and everything. Because they could get away with that. King Francis. So, this King Francis is nothing like he is in real life. In real life, Francis was a very sick person who was on the brink of dying all the time, like, because he was just always bedridden. This one is more gallant, this one more manly, this one fights battles and stuff like that. But this one is still sick and is still supposed to die. And so this season actually has more of Francis does it does Mary, surprisingly. We get to see him be a king. He doesn't want to be like his father, a little tyrant. Instead, he wants to be a just king, a king of the people, with morals and stuff like that. But because of Narcisse, he quickly realizes that that will never be. He's gonna have to do some shady stuff. He's gonna have to blackmail. He's gonna have to threaten people. He's gonna have to take lives and everything. Narcisse is his greatest enemy this season because Narcisse finds out, like I said before, what Francis did to Henry and blackmails him. All of what Narcisse does this season is causing problems between that of Mary and that of Francis. Because you would think things would be better because the whole Bash love triangle thing is over with. But here comes Narcisse constantly causing Francis to go away or blackmail or lie to Mary and everything. And Mary doesn't understand what the heck is going on and everything. Like her and Francis do rule, but there are times where he reminds her, I am the man, this is my kingdom, this is my home, and I rule France and everything. Making her realize, oh yeah, I am just a woman, I am just a queen, I don't have no power and everything. But they do try to rule, like co-rule, but he is the authority figure. And she realizes that. And he starts to become very stern with her. When Narcisse starts to threaten the life of Mary and everything to Francis, Francis realized that him and Mary just can't be and everything. So when Mary gets pregnant and she miscarriages, and she tells Francis, it's the reason why you won't be with me is because I can't give you a child and Lola can't. And he's all like, yup, lying to her and everything, which causes her to start to look for that of another. And it's really heartbreaking to see because, like, you want these two to be together and love each other, especially what all happened in season one. It took him a long time to truly love Mary because he wanted to be like his dad and fool around with other women and stuff. Then when he started to love her, then the whole Bash thing started to happen. And so, like, and Francis goes on a big journey of having to like murder his father because his father went mad and protecting his wife and protecting France and protecting Scotland and all this and that. And so, like I said before, Narcisse literally has that woman framed of like Francis into having him like confess and like, then later he's blackmailed and this and that. But there's another obstacle in the way of him and Mary, that of his cousin this time. Mary really likes to keep it in the Vaudois family and everything. So Louis Conde, Louis of Conde, but Louis Bourbon, the Prince of the Blood and everything, who is, yes, a real person in was a real person in real life. He befriends Francis and that of the court. He becomes kind of like Francis' second right-hand man next to that of Bash. But he spends a lot of time with Mary because, he has to protect her and they befriend each other, this and that. But he ends up like having feelings for her. Francis can see this and does not like it. And it's literally after like Mary's assault and everything and Mary won't touch him, but she'll touch Conde and everything. He realizes him and Mary are done. He tells her, we will still be wife and husband, but and I will protect France, but you are free to have whoever you want. Like, you are not my obligation no more, even though I will still protect that of Scotland and stuff. And it hurts him to say that and it pains him, but he is literally to that point where he's just like furious and everything. And when word spreads that those two sleep in different bedrooms and everything, and like, he has a tasting party, the nobles start to bring around their daughters and nieces for Francis to taste them instead of food. And so does Narcisse. he brings around his niece. After only one episode and one episode only, we get to meet Narcisse's niece. Now, at this point in time, Francis, he gives in to temptation and he sleeps with Narcisse's niece, cheating on Mary before Mary can cheat on him. Well, actually, Mary was cheating at the same time, but she was just kissing Conde, but nothing more. But then later on, Mary does stuff with Conde. Nobody ever finds out about this affair. It's almost like the writers completely forgot about it and just wrote it off screen. We will never see Narcisse's niece again, and nobody, and I mean nobody, not even Mary, knows that Narcisse's niece and Francis slept together. It's literally was just written out of the show as soon as it happened. But Francis is becoming even more frustrated with that of Conde, especially when Conde marries Elizabeth through proxy, which never happened in real life. And so, he realizes that Louis is trying to take his crown. He is potentially a person in line for the crown because he's a cousin and stuff like that. He's a prince. His brother's like a king. And so if something were to happen to Francis, who has an illegitimate son, never had a son in real life, and something would happen to his brothers and sisters, Louis would then become like king and everything because he has the support of England, even though technically Antoine will try to do it. This causes a big problem. And Louis literally tries to take the castle by storm with an army that of English soldiers and that of French, Protestants and everything. And but the battle never really happened because Mary, stopped it and everything. But he lets Conde live, but just to be in prison. But Conde later escaped. And so Francis then decides, you know what, well, me and Mary just reconcile and everything like that. Let's put the past in the past because he really does love her and stuff. But there's a problem. He is dying. Now, one reason why Mary left Francis and everything is because Francis was not there to help protect Mary when she got assaulted. He was off chasing after Narcisse. And so, remember when I said Conde's nephew died and Francis killed the person who killed his cousin's nephew? Well, that man was the father of that boy, and he's the one who assaulted Mary and tried to kill Francis. So Mary literally blames Francis for all of this and everything. She's all like, oh, you never killed that man's son, and he would have never came to the castle looking for revenge and never assaulted me and blah blah blah. And I really hate how she puts it on Francis, because Francis already put the blame on himself for not being there to protect his wife, but then she later put more of the guilt trip on him. And it's just kind of technically, none of this would have all happened if it wasn't for Narcisse's son, who Mary had executed and everything. Like I said before, Narcisse's son is the one who started all this entire chain of events that happened later on in the show. But like I said before, Francis is dying. He was sick and ill, and blood started coming from his ears, where he was bedridden for a whole week. And so he survived that, only to at the end talk to Notre Dame and be all I'm dying, the prophecy's coming real, isn't it? Only to be informed, yeah, it is. They keep teasing the death of Francis and everything. And so that really made viewers be all well, is he actually gonna die like he does in real life and everything? Or are y'all just playing around with us? Y'all keep changing so much stuff. Now, as for him and Louis, in real life, yes, Louis did try to take the crown and everything. He hates Catherine, but they don't show that in the show. But when it comes to him and Francis, In real life, he attempted to kidnap a very young Francis and everything. This is one of the first civil wars that happened in France. Louis was arrested but later let go, and there would be like a total of about three that happened in France around this time because the Vaudois and the Bourbons do not like each other. Prince Louis Bourbon of Condé, the Prince of the Bloods. So I was really like, shocked and surprised by all the stuff that started to come out when it came to Louis and everything, because the writers did a really good job of like fooling us about this character. Where he goes from the start of this season to the end of the season is very shocking. Now, the actor, I believe he's friends with the actor who plays Bash, I believe. And I believe that's kind of how he got the role. He's either friends with him or he's friends with the Francis actor. I can't remember which one. But he does a phenomenal job. After this show, I saw him in The Gifted, an X-Men type show that was on Fox that lasted for 2 seasons. And so Prince Louis Conde had like a huge role this season. He's another antagonist of the show along with Narcisse and Antoine and stuff. Antoine is his brother in real life, and they do hate the Vaudois and they hate Catherine Medici. But they don't show them hating Catherine this season for some bizarre reason. And so when we first meet him, it was Lola and it was Francis who meet him on the roadside trying to get back to court during the plague and everything. He was gonna hop on the boat and just get the heck on out of there. But then he later decides he'll take them to like court and everything. And so him and Narcisse do not like each other whatsoever, and they both have like dirt on each other, this and that. And like, at first, I think he started to like that of Lola. But then he realized, hey, I got like a mistress or whatever, and like I was gonna hop on the boat and just get the heck on out of here and everything, and not even like, deal with all this crap that's going on. But like it's revealed later on that he was there to befriend the French court. Now, he is secretly Protestant. He's been branded and this and that. Mary finds out, and this woman he slept with is the one who ratted him out. So he gets in prison, this and that. So, and not only that, but like Mary makes him come forward. Because of all the stuff that's happening with the Protestants and the Catholics this season, Mary thought if they had a strong like supporter of Protestants that has befriended that of like, the prince and like not king and whatever, and it's his cousin, then maybe the Catholics will leave them alone and everything. And so this first starts to work, but then the other nobles decide they're gonna come forward and be secret and reveal that they're secret Protestants as well, because Narcisse just wants them dead, along with like the nobles and the other Catholics and this and that. It's a big thing back and forth. And so when we see him with his brother, like I said before, it was revealed that Louis' purpose in being in France is just to suck up to that of the court. But he eventually falls in love with Mary because him and Lola, Mary tried to get him and Lola to be a thing and be married and this and that. But he decides he doesn't. No, not Lola, it's Claude. That's it. She wanted him to marry Claude and everything, to have a stronger alliance between Navarre and France and all this other stuff, even though Claude is technically his cousin. Ugh. But he tells her, I'm in love with like the queen being married. This makes Mary happy because she has feelings for him. And so at some point when all the stuff starts to happen between Mary and Francis and them being like, not being in love with each other no more, Mary pursues a relationship with Conde and everything, and they have to sneak around this and that, but then later on they are kind of like discovered. Of course, now if they discovered, this is treason and they will both be beheaded. Because, Mary or somebody, no, I think it's Francis. He literally tells Mary, like a king can have as many women as he wants, but a queen cannot. The moment she messes around, she has to be beheaded and everything. But they take this risk and start to be in a relationship anyways, until Francis gets sick and Mary goes to his side, realizing that, yo, we got caught and all this and that. And this is risky as it is, but because they plan to go to Scotland and get married and stuff so he can be a king. Only problem is Elizabeth was interested in him and she wants to marry him. So if he defies Elizabeth, that's a really scary thing. But when Mary decides she's not going to Scotland and she's not going to marry him and she's going to stay by Francis' side, but they can still sneak around, he's all like, dude, you have screwed me and everything. Like, what the heck I'm gonna do? And so he decides to take Elizabeth's offer and marry her by proxy. And what they do is like, they're gonna marry in France. Elizabeth isn't coming on over. She's just gonna have one of her ladies come over and marry him as proxy and this and that. But somebody said, like, the place that she was staying at, like, on fire. The proxy is dead, the priest that married them is dead, and the paperwork of their marriage has been burnt up. I don't know who exactly did this, because both what's his name, Narcisse and Catherine blamed each other but realized it wasn't the other person. Some people believe it was Elizabeth herself just to cause problems in French court and everything. And so, like, people now know he married Elizabeth because the spies found out. So Louis is doubly screwed and everything. And he doesn't know what the heck he's gonna do and everything. So, like, he just, like, he asked Mary for help and she's gonna get him out of there and everything, and because he can't go back to Navarre because they would suspect him being there. But then something else happens, I forget what, that has to do with Protestants and Catholics and this and that. And so, like, Francis is like, yo, I have no choice. I gotta kill Louis and everything. He tells Mary because Louis married Elizabeth, and Elizabeth wants the throne of France and Scotland, and Louis could literally take France if he wanted to, if something was to ever happen to him and his family and stuff. Like, he's next in line. And so because he's next in line, they gotta literally do a Lady Jane and everything, to where Mary Tudor of England had to kill her own cousin because her cousin literally tried to take power, failed at it, and the people recognized her as like a queen, and so she had to kill her own cousin. Francis is gonna have to do the same thing to Louis and everything, because there are going to be people in England who feel like he is now the rightful king of, like, England and France and blah, 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 and all this other crap. And so, like, Louis decides the only choice he has is to take the crown by force, and he wages war on Francis. He has over 1,000 troops and everything. And so France is screwed because Francis sent over 2,000 troops on over to Scotland to protect them from, like, the English. His numbers are low, and now he has to, like, what is it? Use, like, women and children and stuff like that to defend the castle. Oh, now I remember that religious thing that happened. So a bunch of Protestants went to, like, a chapel, killed all the priests there, and kidnapped a bunch of young boys in choir. And this was set up to make it look like they was Louis's men and everything, but he had no involvement in that. I think it was Narcisse that helped frame him or something like that. Or maybe it was some English people, I don't know. But this is what made Louis, like, triply, like, screwed and everything. And this is when he tries to take, like, France by storm. And he legit wants the crown. I'm just like, dude, he went from being this nice, gallant type, like, character to like a sleazeball to, a little bit better of a character, and now complete scum and everything. And so it's Mary that has to put like a stop to him and everything, because she's involved because of like, the affair, and part of this is her fault. And like, it's just crazy to see where this character goes. But after he is defeated, somebody in English court, like, frees him and kills all the guards and the executioner, and he gets away. And spoiler alert, we don't know what the heck happens to Louis after this season. Francis assumed that he might try to go back to Navarre, but he set up guards around the borders. He can't go to England and everything. So what the heck happened to him? We will never, ever, ever, ever find out. And like I said before, in real life, yeah, he did try to take the crown, and he did try to kidnap that of like Francis, and he was in prison only to be let go, but then he was later executed and stuff. Queen Mary of Scots and France, played by that of I always had the hardest time saying her first name. It's either Adelaide Kane or it's Adelaide Kane. Um, I think it's Adelaide King. And so I've always had the hardest time saying her name. So even though this is her show and everything, she kind of doesn't feel like this season revolves around her that much. She's more of a character who reacts to everything and doesn't really make things happen for herself, because this event happens, it causes her now to do this and do that and do this. And it's quite a shame, because this is her show. And this will kind of be like the formula going around for a lot of different seasons, except for season 4 for the most part, and a little bit of season 1. But she's always having to react to a situation and take front and center once it happens. But nevertheless, the actress does an amazing job in this show. Like, I'm so proud, because she came from Power Rangers of all things. Like Power Rangers RPM, she's an Australian actress, and she starred in other stuff before, like on a soap and everything. But this is a show that she had to have on her own. She is the main lead and everything. And much props to her. Like, she does an amazing job. You can find her on Grey's Anatomy right now. And so what I like about Mary is that she is a woman of morals. She has like a good center to her. She is sweet and compassionate, and she won't do something horrible unless it's like their last resort. She won't allow the people at French court to change her beliefs of like how she should rule a kingdom. But she does realize at times she is going to have to fight dirty. She realized that in season 1 when she had Catherine kidnapped and everything and all this other crap. And she hates when her hand has to be pushed forward to do stuff like this, because like I said before, she is a woman of integrity and a woman who just wants and sees the best out of people. She could care less about your religion. She is Catholic, but she doesn't care if you're Protestant or pagan. She has fallen in love with both like a Protestant and a pagan. However, the one problem I have with how they write her in season 1 and 2 is that they always find a way to have a love triangle between her, Francis, and another person, and that other person always be like a member of Francis's family. In season 1, it was his half brother. In season 2, is now his cousin and everything. And it makes her seem kind of like a floozy and everything. But she doesn't just do it to have fun. She does it because 1, she wants to fall in love, and 2, she does it for Scotland. Mary has always been in this show a woman who will put well, it's kind of like Scotland and her own needs are kind of blurred into one, but she always does everything for Scotland first and kind of like her own pleasure second in everything. Scotland needs a strong alliance with that of France. And so, like, because the English want Scotland and they want her crown. This is why she's over in France. This is why she was arranged to be married to Francis. So when she does have that affair with Conde, it is nice to see that she's not doing it for political power, really. She's doing it to really pursue her own heart. She rarely ever has to marry for love. Like with Francis, it was arranged. So she didn't really love him, but she had to, like, make herself love him and everything. And she did it for her kingdom. Now, Bash is technically kinda the first person she ever pursued um in terms of love, you know what I'm saying? But she also did that for political reasons as well, because when she left Francis and she went to go be with Bash, he wasn't legitimized at that time, but then he later became legitimized, and then when he stopped being legitimized, she went to Francis. Conde is really, truly the first real person that she actually allowed herself to fall in love with just because she wanted to fall in love. And and she planned on going back to like Scotland, and she was gonna rule Scotland and do the best she can to hold off like the English forces and stuff. But like I said before, Francis said he'll help out and everything. And there's a lot of complexity that goes on with her character this season, but not as much as Francis. And this is why I feel like the second season was more about the Francis show than it was that of the Mary. Because in the beginning of the season, she has to rule France in France's absence as the plague is going on in that one episode only. And she's shown that she can rule and everything. She rules with that of her heart. And back in ye old English, French, and 1500 times, the reason why they always wanted a man to rule a kingdom is because they feel a woman lives off of emotions. She's so emotional and everything. And that's why women didn't really rule unless they had to, or there were no male heirs and everything. And so, like, during, like, the plague, she tried to keep everybody's, like, morale up and everything. But then here comes Narcissus' son that has to, like, force her hand. And she refuses to go along with killing this family just for grain, even though she knows France needs the grain and everything. And it's to the point where Catherine's gonna try to like go over her head, and so she has to like push Catherine to the side and make Catherine pretend like she's sick and everything, and with the whole ruse. And she had what's his face executed when he killed that family and stuff. She's gonna show that if you go over my head, you're gonna pay the consequences and stuff. When Francis comes back, they have to act a little shady with that note, to like frame that of like, Narcisse and everything, because he wants to kill, Notre Dame and stuff like that. Because she's the one who put Notre Dame's life in danger, having him lie about how Narcisse's son died and everything. And so, like, when she makes mistakes, she's the one. I do like that when she makes a mistake, she is the one who has to fix it and everything. Because I would hate it if somebody else had to fix her mistakes. So at least she has the smarts and wherewithal to realize, hey, I screwed up. I gotta make this better and everything. And so, like I said before, her and Francis, they finally get to be together since the whole Bash thing is like gone. But now there are complications because, Narcisse is a complication for her and Frances being together, and when she gets pregnant and she miscarries, Frances literally has to lie to her. It still hurts her inside about what he did with Lola. And when he sees Francis being a father, holding his baby, falling asleep next to the baby along with Lola, it really pains her because she feels like he doesn't really love her. Like, why would he go and pursue her best friend and make a baby by her and this and that? This is causing her to go in the arms of that of Conde. She's already had feelings for the dude, but then when she finds out he has feelings for her more, this causes her heart to want to go elsewhere. With that, Francis constantly having to lie to her and not be there for her, and then, like, there is the assault. I'm still surprised they did this and everything because when it happened, I didn't know what the heck happened to Mary because of how it was filmed and everything. This is before they would actually show this on like television and stuff. Nowadays, you see it on streaming all the time, or you'll see it on like a cable network type show. But this was the CW. So when that guy forced himself on Mary, I assumed he was just strangling her and that's it, even though you see him rip like like her clothing, try to like rip it off and everything. And so you don't know what the heck happened, and she was able to clunk one of them in the head and the dudes get like away and stuff like that. But then it's revealed that she literally tells like Catherine what happened to her, and I was shocked and surprised to find that out because, like I said before, the way it was choreographed, you don't know really what the heck happens and stuff. And it's Catherine who helps her heal a little bit mentally and stuff. Even though Catherine's taking a very old approach to just pretend like it didn't happen and fool everybody else and blah blah stuff like that. I hate that. But she helps along when it comes to Francis because like I said before, Catherine tells Francis, it's gonna be a while because she doesn't want to be touched by nobody, and she doesn't. Some fans felt like this whole trauma of her getting attacked went on a little bit too long because it literally takes the entirety of the second half of the season, every episode, which I appreciate. It wasn't just a one and done thing like it is with a lot of stuff in modern day Hollywood. See, when Hollywood went modern day, aka woke and everything, they will always have an awareness type episode. They will have an episode that deals with a woman getting assaulted, or like a person of color being mistreated, or like an LGBT person getting mistreated. And then it will last for like one episode, and then they'll never bring it up again. And this was a problem I had in modern day television because I'm kind of like, yo, this is important stuff you need to show, but then it's just a one and done type thing. So it was literally just there to check it off the list. This show, however, did not check it off the list. This show shows the trauma that happens to a woman and also a male, but mostly women, of what happens when you get assaulted. She felt less like a lady. She felt like an animal. She felt like a victim because that's what she was. She was a victim. And she would not allow nobody, no matter what their gender was, to touch her. If a woman tried to comfort her by like stroking her arm, she would like flinch and jump back and everything. Like, she literally was terrified of everyone and everything. Because the person that assaulted her, she didn't expect him to do that because like she helped Francis persuade him to not judge the Protestants and not have them executed and this and that. And so but then of course there was still a war raging between both religions. And so when she had mercy on them and shown that, hey, I'm befriending Prince Louis and everything, and he's Protestant, they still did not care because that man's son died because he killed Louis's nephew and stuff. So he took it out on Francis and Mary. He wanted to kill Francis, but when Francis wasn't there, he took it out on Mary and assaulted her and everything. And so she's just kind of shocked and surprised that here she is helping these people, and they still turned their back on her and stuff, and committed an extreme crime and everything. And so when this happened, she tries to console in that of Francis, and Francis already blames himself, but then he realizes Mary blames him more so because he was not there to protect his wife and everything, which causes a rift between them. And so this causes her to befriend Louis a heck of a lot more. It is Conde that helps her get revenge and everything because, nobody really knows what happened to Mary, but she's slowly starting to let people know. Catherine was the first, Francis was the second, and then so on and so on. Like she told the ladies in waiting, Kenna told that of Bash. She tells Conde and everything because she's all like, because when they starting to look for the men who did this, she's all like, I should go too because I can identify them and everything. And Conde didn't quite understand how could she identify them if she told everybody she wasn't touched, but then later reveals to him that she was and everything. I think one reason why Catherine told her to lie was because this would cause more of the townspeople to start killing each other. It would literally be Catholics chasing after Protestants and trying to kill everybody, but nobody knowing who's really a Protestant and who's not, and stuff like that. And so her and Louis, they tracked down the men who did this, and they snuck into like their place and waited for them to come. And I love how it's Mary who gets the blunt of the revenge and everything. She's hiding underneath like a table and she slashes like the back of the knees of the guy who like assaulted her while Louis taking out the other men. And so then she takes like a torch and she throws it on the blood of the man whose knees she slashed, causing him to burn alive. And she tells Mary, kill the rest of these men because they just stood by and let it happen. And one of them was going to get like her as well, but that's the one she clumped in like the head and stuff like that. And I think killed him. And so like Louis just sets the whole place on fire, killing the men and letting them burn alive. And well, those that are actually still alive, but they mostly stabbed with his sword. But she burnt that one dude alive. So she was able to get her revenge on like her assaulter and everything. And I like how they did that. They gave her like her strong woman moment to reclaim now I can't talk reclaim what she lost and everything. She lost a part of herself when that man did that, and she got her revenge and reclaimed it and everything. And I like how the writers and directors let her do that because this season was directed mainly by women this season and stuff, I noticed. But like a lot of damage had been done between the relationship of that of Mary and that of Francis. It's to the point where she literally won't let him touch her no more. But then when she does, because her mama comes to like, court and, talking about like, and she tells her mom what happened and her mom's all like, oh, are you afraid that you have your attacker's baby in you? And Mary's just kind of like, that's all you can think of. Like, power and this and that. And so it causes her to want to banish her mom again until her mom reveals that, she's dying and everything. And this is why she wants like an heir as soon as possible from Mary, because like if anything happens to Mary, then sorry about that, my camera died. So like if anything was to happen to Mary, like, then the power would go to her half brother James, and like, he's illegitimate and stuff like that. And plus he's a little shady himself in the historical times, because I've already revealed that in season 3 and 4 review. So this causes her mom to reconcile and this and that. But in actuality, in real life, like those two got along very well. And so she tries to make a baby with Francis, but still doesn't want him in her and stuff. And so as time passes by and, Louis is in trouble and Navarre because of the branding he has on him, the mark. And her and Bash is all like, we're just going to have to get rid of it and cauterize it and everything. And then lie to the people and stuff like that. When Louis was in pain because they're burning his skin, she grabs his hand. This is the first person she touches in weeks. And so later on, Francis later sees her touch like the shoulder or like the arm of Louis and stuff. This is causing him to be jealous because he's realizing something. She won't let no other person touch her but him. And he suspects that she is in love with him and everything. This causes a huge argument between those two. And so when Elizabeth like tries to take Scotland, Mary's gonna need like an army to do it, and so she's gonna order the French troops to go on over there. But Catherine will not allow it. Frances is ill at this time, and so she realizes, you know what, if I marry that of Conde and everything, if Frances dies and she marries Conde, then she can have the his army and the Navarre army to like at least go over there and try to stop them and stuff like that. But Francis comes back too, and they have a talk, and he literally says that, look, I made you a promise when we was kids that this arranged marriage would protect Scotland, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I no longer want you, and you can have whatever man you want, but I will send 2,000 troops on over there. And so that's what he does, weakening his forces and everything when Conde tries to take it over. And so, of course, this infuriates Catherine and everything. And of course, Mary has her affair with that of Conde. And like I said before, this is really the first person she pursued, other than Bash, that she actually had a crush on. Because she did have a crush on Bash in the first season when they grew up as kids. And that's caused her to leave Francis and stuff. And in a way, this kind of has her reclaim, like, she's finally marrying for love and not political power. But at that same time, she's still messing around with one of Francis's family members and stuff. And that's how she wants to live the rest of her life, just fooling around and this and that. But when she realizes she's not going to Scotland, this pisses Louis off, and he doesn't want to like hide, because he'll have to hide in Scotland too, but he doesn't want to hide in France because he's a marked man and he's triply screwed and everything like that, because of like, the whole like Elizabeth thing, and like the whole like Protestants kidnapping those young boys and this and that. And so when Conde turns and everything, and the castle is going to be under siege, he tells Francis, hey, look, man, we don't need Mary getting killed. Just give me her, and you know what? Give me your crown, and I'll let you all live and everything. And so Mary realizes, you know what? A lot of this has to do with her fault for going in the arms of that of Conde and everything. And so she realizes she's going to have to be the one to stop this. And as smart as she is, she comes up with an ingenious plan. She has a bunch of griers, like prostitute ladies and stuff, like whore themselves out to Conde's like army men and stuff, right? And while that's going on, she poisons a lot of his men, making them think that they have the plague, that it has returned. The prostitute women fingers are black because it's ash. And when Conde finds that out, he goes back to Mary's all like, you staged all this and everything. You weakened my forces so that Francis could like, stop me and everything. And then out of nowhere, when he goes towards Mary, she stabs him in the gut and he is bleeding out. He passes out. And when Francis sees this opportunity, he has his forces, like, because the men are retreating because they think the plague is back. So Francis used this opportunity to fight them. Now, the fighting gets a bit better in season 2 than what it was in season 1, but the fighting is amazing in season 3 and season 4. So with Louis over there bleeding out, they attend to his wounds, they imprison him. Like I said before, he escapes. And so it was actually Mary that saved the day, even though Francis gets all the credit. And so him and her have decided, you know what, they're going to reconcile and they're going to stay together and this and that. And, Mary went through like a very traumatic season this season, Um, having to like, save the people of France from like a plague, having to save the people of Scotland from the English and everything. And of course, the whole assault and like the crumbling of her marriage in the pursuit of another man. There was so much she had to deal with, and you gotta remember she's young. She's like a teenager, but she was even younger in real life and everything. But of course, this whole her and Louis thing never happened in real life. And she didn't have to deal with no plague in like, the 1550s and stuff. And as for her cheating on Francis, I don't think that ever happened in real life that I can find. But of course, in real life, he did end up dying. Now, spoiler alert for season 4. Technically, we don't know if she gets assaulted in real life or not. When she marries that of her third husband, because of course Francis, like I said before, dies in real life, and eventually at some point he will die in the show. And so her third husband, nobody knows if she married him because she loved him, or he forced her to marry her, or if he ever forced himself on her. Historians still to this day do not know and everything. But yeah, Queen Mary of Scots, boy, she had it in real life. Like, her life is tragic. She's probably the most tragic, like, royal person there is, other than probably Lady Jane, who just didn't even want none of this stuff to happen in England and was forced by a bunch of men to take the crown and everything. And actually, Queen Mary of Scots actually had red hair. She is a Tudor, after all, of the Tudor bloodline and everything. But on the show, of course, her hair is dark brown, because that's Adelaide's like real hair color. And I'm so glad they didn't dye it. Although she probably would look kind of cool as a redhead and everything. And so, yeah, season 2 was like all over the place in terms of like scandals and twists and turns. It has caused a lot of the fandom to not like season 2 anymore. I still like it, and I still think it's its best season. It went in a much darker route. The love scandals were like bigger and bolder. More people had more stuff to do. And because the first season was very safe and very like fluffy and girly and and love and romance and love scandals and this and that and pursuing your heart, whereas the second season did all that but in a much amplified, like, darker way and everything. And it's interesting because, like I said before, the fandom has turned on it, and plus because the season is very inaccurate. There's still historical stuff that happens in the show that is true. They just kind of flip it around a little bit and stuff. And season 2, it's available on Amazon Prime. You can get on DVD in a single release, or you can get the entire series box set for like $30. The behind the scenes stuff is really interesting because they filmed in Canada, and when you see snow on the show, it's real snow. And they say it was cold. They also, the Francis dude said that they had to like re-dye like not tips, but the roots of his hair, because the roots were starting to get a little dark. So they had to re-dye his roots like blonde and everything. And that's interesting. I didn't know that and stuff. I don't know if he's a brunette in real life or a blonde, but I've always seen him as a blonde and stuff. But I do think season 2 is very ambitious. I do think they upped the ante, and they had storylines that I was really shocked and surprised they went there and stuff. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye.